I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. So today our topic is going to be about indecisiveness and uncertainty, and how do we go from that where we can get into being regulated and have harmony in our lives. If you like that's our topic today, then please hit the like and subscribe button below. But before we get started, I want to welcome you back. If you watch or listen to these videos on a weekly basis, I sure do love and appreciate you, and I thank you so very much. If you're new to this channel, I want to let you know that I'm not a doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, a scientist, any of those things, but I may share along the lines of those things what I learned, what I might think might be beneficial to help you as it's helped me too. Trying to give you all valuable, down-to-earth, soul-felt information that you all can relate to and understand. What I am is a life coach. I have a webpage called stacyforlife.com, and on this webpage, I write a monthly blog, and there is a description of the services that I provide as a life coach. I invite and encourage you to check that all out. Once again, stacyforlife.com. The bottom line is really about going within to feel comfortable in our own skin. Is the desire for healing and healthy relationships, as well as development of spiritual and soul consciousness. All right, so thank you very much. Let's get into the topic today, which is going to be about, dealing with indecisiveness and uncertainty, and how we get from that and, gain the clarity to get from that to go into being, regulated. I used to talk about I used to talk about balance all the time, but now it has switched to harmony, because I think that in this pandemic time, for me, I know that it's a struggle to find balance, but to get regulated. And to get regulated is really to get in a rhythm. And with a rhythm, we have changes in rhythm. And so when we can dance to the changes in the rhythm, so to speak, we can find the harmony in that rhythm, whether we can sing a lot long or not, So, all right. So when we look at this indecisiveness, and the notes that I took and the research that I did, is that I asked a girlfriend of mine, I said, what should the topic be today? What should I work on as a topic? And Natalia said to me, it's okay not to be okay, being okay with not being okay. We also talked about agreeing to disagree, but there's how we get to this. It's okay not to be okay, to disagree, to not disagree. And then even for me, my mind's been going crazy, too. I think that all of us coming into a new season and finishing out the year 2021, that we're all wondering and projecting, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? Where do we want to go? It's just that uncertainty, right? And so we also look at, we're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So what's the right decision? So that, brings on the indecisiveness. And really, indecisiveness leads to self-sabotage, because if we don't make a decision, then it goes into default. So not making a decision makes a decision that somebody else is going to make the decision for us. So we really don't usually like that. Then usually we feel victimized when somebody makes a decision for us. So when we look at this uncertainty and indecisiveness, the feeling of not wanting to do it is that we are addicted to being right or good. This is from Teal Swan, because when I was studying and looking at this, she has a video on indecisiveness, and why do we deal with this indecisiveness. And again, it goes back to that childhood trauma about trying to make the right decision for our parents, and we talked about that last week. And, I love how things fall into right and divine alignment. And I spoke about this in the Facebook post that I made. Just a second, and oh, it didn't pause. Okay, sorry about that. It didn't pause there at first. So the Facebook post that I made that was along with this topic today, it says, and it is in essence how we get into alignment with ourselves, selves, and soul. When this happens, there is a restoration of health, wealth, and happiness. This is about being in alignment, and being in that divine alignment through peace. And peace isn't about the chase. And as I said earlier, I've too been chasing. It's about which way do I go? What direction do I take? That's that we do this, being patient. I've been studying with hearing being patient, be patient, but then hearing have a leap of faith, Stacy. So it's like, well, how do I be patient? Have a leap of faith, like being okay with not being okay and agreeing to disagree. So into this quote we go into, peace isn't about the chase. It's about regulation, aligning our energy with the divine rhythm, being patient and yet taking the leap of faith. It's magic, And then the quote that I posted with this is, when you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you. And that author is unknown. But it's like, okay, so how do we know which is right or wrong? And that's what makes people indecisive, right? Is when we don't understand or know what is right or wrong. What is the right decision, And that's why people, and oftentimes they start asking bunches and bunches of people, what is the right decision? And have other people make their decisions for them. And then that comes with, with us not feeling validated as children, as Teal Swan was saying in her video, is that as children, oftentimes we didn't get validated. And so really we're not confident about what the right or wrong decision is. But she also says, as I've heard before too, when I approach my life coach with this, she says, Stacy, there's just two paths. There's not a right or wrong decision. It's about being in that right and divine alignment. And how do we get there? Some people may get there through prayer and meditation, but, it's how do we get there? And it's being congruent with our self, selves, and soul is what's best for us. We're dealing with that a lot nowadays with talking about, should I do this or should I do that? People come to me and say, I don't know, I'm pulled. Should I post this? Should I post that? Should I do this? Should I get vaxxed or should I not get vaxxed? And it's about, what is your conviction? What is your conviction? Because we can't allow other people to make the decisions for us. If we do, that's codependency. A big codependent trait is that when we allow other people to tell us what we want, need, or desire and allow them to make the decisions for us, then we become a victim, because if that decision isn't right for us, if it isn't in alignment with our self, selves, and souls, then we're out of body and we're feeling like a victim and we've given somebody else the power over us. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to make a codependent decision to allow somebody else to make a decision for us. So it's knowing within our self and our body, which sometimes that may be brought about prayer and meditation. However, it's just sitting and being quiet and feeling that validation within ourself. So I love how everything falls in right and divine alignment. As I spoke about in last week's video, and that we talk about the trauma of sometimes not being able to make just the right decision as children, and all of this goes back to observing our childhood. When we talked about being addicted to being right or good, and then that comes in the addiction. So I have been sharing with you from this book, What Happened to You, by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce D. Perry. And then when I read it, after I made this post, it's like, oh, this is in divine alignment. And after I posted the video last week, because I read this after I posted the video last week, I'm going to share with you now. So last week when I shared with you all, I shared about how when I went to school that I couldn't really focus because the trauma of not knowing when I went home what I was going to be dealing with. In my family, one of my parents was addicted, as I turned out to be addicted too. And we talked about addicted to being right or good, and sometimes that's just that programmed behavior. But I also had the programmed behavior of addiction, or whether it was genetic or programmed or social, however, I ended up with this addictive disorder or disease, as some people may say. So in doing that and growing up in these circumstances, is that there are things that we face. There is that trauma. And I spoke of that last week. Like I said, that in school, they said I ran like hot and cold water. So I'm going to share this from the book, what I read today, that goes along with that. When, talking about the rhythms and music and things of those childhood songs, there are certain songs that stick in my head along with this trauma. And I don't listen to those songs today in that rhythm of my life. But it says in this book, in prolonged cases, the hypervigilance of a boy living with domestic violence, scanning his home for any sign of threat, is very adaptive. In a classroom, this can prevent the child from paying attention to the teacher and result in the child being labeled with attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, which is maladaptive, which is desensitized. And I know that for me, I became desensitized. I was an oldest child, and I believe too that, some other children, my son was desensitized as being an older child too. Now, he didn't live with much of my addiction because I'm grateful. See, this is the healing part, is that I'm not saying or promoting any way for anybody to stay a victim, because as I've said in prior videos, when we're 18, 21, that's really when our actual growth starts, our own growth, because this other stuff was, happened when we were children. And I'm not saying that it isn't valid and that it doesn't have its effects on us. In fact, I'm saying that it does have its effects, but it's up to us to heal those effects. So, then I watched a Russell Brand video today talking about his bottom. And then I came to another part in this book as I was reading this same area, because this was on the part that I just read to you finished on page 56, and I come over here to page 59. And we're still talking about this. She also talked about in this book how one child was in school and she grew up in a home where the mother was a single mom and really didn't pay much attention, wasn't available emotionally for the child. So in the class, when the teacher, there was, that Dr. Bruce Perry had a team that observed how this child was a little different from the other child in that effect, that the teacher would hug all the children, and when she hugged this child would kind of cringe and really, felt uncomfortable with it. So eventually the teacher quit hugging her, which proved that the child was not lovable to the child, And so then when the child did raise her hand one time, they noticed that the teacher didn't notice her, because after a period of time, the teacher felt the discomfort of the child. But then when the child did the essay that she was raising the hand about, the teacher cried because she understood what the child was feeling through the essay that the child wrote about not being seen, you see. So sometimes that can be the middle or third child in a family as well, or even latter, and because I've worked with people too that have felt that way. So it's, about that becoming what we're used to. So Oprah says that in one of the most raw conversations I've had about struggle to find relief from emotional imbalance was with the British actor and comedian Russell Brand. I love watching his videos. Everything I know about the world is pretty much from Russell Brand. At the time, he'd been sober for 11 years, but he'd recently published a powerful essay about how he continued to think about heroin nearly every day. Drugs and alcohol are not my problem, he wrote. Reality is my problem. Drugs and alcohol are my solution. Russell told me that as a child he felt alienated from the people around him. He was raised by a single mother with very little money, and he described himself as confused, lonely, and at a loss as how to handle his feelings. There were points in his life where he could not distinguish between where he ended and the pain began. And he developed dangerous habits, including compulsive eating and an infatuation with pornography, and eventually a devastating addiction to drugs. I couldn't cope with being me, Russell said. Yet, even during some of his darkest moments, he said he often felt gratitude for the respite drugs provided from what he called an overwhelming internal storm. On the 17th anniversary of his sobriety, Russell went on social media to credit his inpatient recovery treatment support groups and mentors. He said, "I have freedom now, and you can have freedom too." And the spiritual teacher Gary Zukav has said, "When you find an addiction, do not be ashamed. Be joyful. You have found something that you have come to this earth to heal. And when you confront and heal an addiction, you are doing the deepest spiritual work that you can do on this earth." So this is like turning your pain into passion. So oftentimes, is that people with a passion have had addictive disorders, and have this regulation. How are we going to regulate? And like I was saying, in my childhood trauma, there were certain songs, certain music that I would remember hearing. We would go on vacations, and have to pull the car over. The music would be playing loud. My dad would be drunk, and we'd have to pull the car over because he would get mad about my mom's driving or something like this, so we'd have to let dad out. And so this was, This was very scary for Dad to be beating the dashboard and wanting to get out of the car and leaving Dad on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere and things like this, and that was a trauma. That's a trauma for kids when this happens, when you see parents fighting and this kind of thing, and, with the drugs and what have you. However, I'm not saying that I should be a victim by that, is that a lot of people suffer traumas. As Oprah herself suffered traumas, Russell Brand suffered traumas. There's a lot of people who suffer traumas. And, I think that it makes us feel better to know that celebrities have suffered traumas too, because oftentimes we romanticize and idealize other people's lives and think that they have better lives than we have. And so it's being able to realize, as the Buddha said, there will be suffering, and that everybody has some kind of suffer or struggle. So once we can realize that, we can really connect with humanity and understand that we are not the only one. That's why I do these videos, is so that you understand that you are not the only one if you're struggling at these times with indecisiveness and with the uncertainty of how this life is going on. But that's why I watch these people, and that's why I like to share about these people, because these people inspire me too. So it's about finding somebody to be inspired by. Their story, that you can relate to their story, and not feeling like you're alone and not feeling like you're a victim, and having somebody, your person, that you can find that can walk with you through these painful feelings and uplift you through these painful feelings. Somebody you can trust, a clergy, a life coach, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a dear friend who themselves has made it to a point where you want to be a mentor, somebody that you can trust that can help you get there. There are women's centers, there are Salvation Armies, there are all kinds of places and things out there that can help you if you're addicted, or if you're going through hard times. It's just being able to finally ask for help, so ask for help. And then we can get into regulation, because we all like listening to music. But when we realize that the harmony is, this earth in itself has a harmony. These music have like seven. Seven is a magical number, that there's like 7 primary colors. There's 7 scales. There's a definite harmony that goes on in this universe. And there, oftentimes you could find 7 levels. Probably if I had the time to research more, I could give you 7 steps to create your harmony. And I, ask for your input, for you to be able to give me 7 steps that you have used to create some kind of harmony in your life, because I know that some of you watching have created some kind of harmony, are looking to create harmony. Even if you tell me what you want to create harmony for, maybe the next video can be towards creating those 7 steps towards harmony. But we look at, it's amazing how music is indicative. We listen to music when we're happy. We listen to music when we're sad. But we're learning now about these binary beats and everything else that help us. So I'm going to close with reading, because my friend Natalia had given me suggestions for this video. And she also sent me something, too, that talked about the rhythm. Dancing frees us. I've mentioned in the video last week too about how the different things, listening to the sea has a rhythm. There's all kinds of rhythms, even if you don't dance, that you can listen to bring your soul at ease and get into that clarity. Because we can take our pain and turn it to our passion. We can take that chaos and turn it to clarity. Just like we can be okay with not being okay. We can agree to disagree. Because this world operates, as I've said, with the negative and positive polarities. So sometimes we got to take it negative and turn it to a positive. And sometimes, we have to first acknowledge the negative so we can grow. But the negative isn't all just a bad thing. So let me read what Natalia sent me, and we'll close with that. You must know that the land is vibrating at 432 hertz. Many people still remain in fear by the events that are being generated on our planet with viruses, hurricanes, cyclones, torrential rains, tremors, fires, floods, sudden changes in temperature, etc., without knowing the cause. In recent years, the Earth has been responsible for raising its vibration until this figure, 432 hertz, which is the correct way of vibration of Earth, Fear, sadness, overwhelming anger, anguish, critique, concern, hate, resentment, uncertainty, stress, etc. are low vibrations. We, being a part of the earth, we must raise our vibration to her and stop the crash with her vibration. Mother Nature has given us that shake that any dad or mom would give their children to wake up and do the right thing. That is what we came to this earth to do. That is why so many disasters are being caused around the world, because we are not being compatible with Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. So let's vibrate high. Listen to music often, 432 hertz, to help raise your vibration. Meditate, exercise regularly, eat healthy, drink pure water, be tolerant, patient, loving, talks well with others, breathe and feel every breath. Practice a hobby that you are passionate about. What you do with love helps upload our vibration in that whole of the planet. Let's do it. The earth is crying out and we are not listening. It was stress, it was the concerns, it was, most importantly, it was fear. If we understand the process that Mother Earth is only cleaning the planet with low vibrations, and we become aware, the changes will be beneficial for us and the whole world. If you vibrate high, you will not know any disease. Fulfill your dreams, achieve goals, contagious of joy and security. The domino effect is produced, the butterfly effect. We will all be one, and one will be all. If you are a musician, he refines his instrument in 432, because 440 is a frequency to sleep, to dominate. And so this was obviously copied from something probably about Gaia, but it's really true. I do believe, a lot of people are anxious for the pandemic to be over, but they're not understanding about the rhythm and the vibration of their energy. And that's how we're attracting what we attract into our lives. So if we want to attract health, wealth, and happiness, as I said in the post before, we have to be on a level to where we are thinking health, wealth, and happiness instead of the despair and the gloom and the ain't it awfuls. It's not to say that it isn't awful. It's to pray about those things and to envision what we do want to create and be what we want to create. And so we have to heal oftentimes to be what we want to create, because all of us, our parents, everyone would have done better if they knew better. So we would, I hope that this video has been helpful. And I hope that if you feel that it's going to help somebody else, that you will share it. And I would like, just hoping that we will all raise our vibration and that we'll all start a healing process, because what we heal within ourselves will heal within the earth too, to be conscious of that, how, we've destroyed and ravaged the earth with our materialism and desires of not thinking. We just didn't know better, but we can all heal. So I hope that this video has been helpful, and if you feel that it has, that you will share it and that you'll start thinking about the rhythms. What you put into your mind, body, and soul is going to help you grow or not. So with that being said, I wish you much peace and love, and I thank you so much. Bye.